Hello guys and welcome! Today we are going to continue the Final Fantasy XIV documentary, The Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. And now we are at episode 3 and it's incredible how many episodes there are from this documentary, and wow, I'm like so curious to see Final Fantasy version 1.0 because I saw so many very shitty features and I'm glad they are no longer in the game. So yeah, let's have a look at this.
Hello Eorzeans! Welcome back to the Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. And I have to make two corrections from my previous video. One minor and one major. So let's get the minor one out of the way first. There were forums during the alpha and beta tests, but not at launch. This was just a silly error that I didn't
Oh, okay, so there were... But why not at launch?
Yeah.
That's very important.
Forums during testing, no forums at launch.
Why?
Now then. The big correction is the one about the leaves. I mistakenly said that you had a limit of 99 leaves that recharged for every 12 hours. Well, it was actually worse at launch. Only 8 leaves were available every 36 hours.
That's even more horrible. Wait, you can just do 8 leaves in 36 hours? These did not stack. 8 was all you could... Oh my gosh, those are not many. For those of you that like to grind,
and I apologize for
yeah, we are glad it's no longer there.
Better in this episode, I promise. Also, massive shout out to everyone keeping me in line. It's important that this series is accurate, and you're all a big help. Now then, where were we? Oh yeah, the game trying to make you stop playing. So let's say you are in need of some gear, because gods, you
look how slow running
gear drops were ridiculously rare due to the lacking content. Well, you'd have to go visit your local market ward. The market was one at the time being Ul'dah due to its close proximity to the Aetheryte crystal and other amenities. Back in 1.0, Limsa was the least popular city-state because of its outspread layout. And where you would now
That's
find
funny.
Aetheryte Plaza.
That's funny that Lominsa was the least populated city. Like now it's the whole opposite. Like most players are at Lominsa. Okay, Gridania is pretty full too. Ul'dah is, I think, the least populated, but then again, Ul'dah is like bigger, right, the area, and more wide. But to me, it seems like Lominsa is number 1 spot for players to meet, and number 2 is Gridania, and then Ul'dah.
In A Realm Reborn, there used to be nothing, except for this,
only this
statue, which
what?
Ironically looks like one of the A Realm Reborn Aetheryte crystals that would soon replace it. So we're going into the market wards. You now have to choose from a list where you wanted to go. There were different wards for different things.
Look at this, looks more
like
pixelated too, right?
Row
A bit.
And Upper Taylor's Row, you really had to learn where you wanted to go. Each ward had its own specialty, so as in the case of Upper Taylor's Row, you would mostly find gear ranging from level 41 and up. Thus the upper, I guess? Once inside,
so the traders had different levels.
These are retainers. Retainers would be placed here with whatever their owner told them to sell, and no, there was no search system, so you had to browse them manually.
What?
One of them had something you needed.
You're kidding me, right?
They've priced them.
They didn't find any time while they made this game, like the early version, to add such a feature like the search feature for trading. Like, why would you do that? Like, you need in an MMO, like in every MMO game, you need a search feature. If you don't have a search feature for anything that you want to buy from like the market where other players are selling, like, who knows which NPC? We don't have freaking time to click through everyone, right? I'm glad that Yoshi P fixed it and now we have like a search function.
Sensibly.
Holy shit.
Often people didn't, because they knew people wouldn't want to search for an item all day and compare prices, and you had no choice but to buy it. To make it all better, because of the limitations on how many characters you could see at any one time, you had to move around to ensure you could load up all the retainers.
Oh, they despawn.
Just imagine how fun that was. Oh, but there was more in store for unsuspecting players. The game's fast travel system. The Aetherites.
That's the old school Aetherites.
Generally, when people that didn't play 1.0 look at a 1.0 map, they usually exclaim that there are
does
a lot
look pretty,
of
though.
around. Well, maybe the Aetherite density is slightly higher than in A Realm Reborn, but boy, the devs had a treat for us. Anima. And no, I'm not talking about the Heavensward Anima relic. I'm talking about the real OG Anima. the 1.0 teleport currency.
Teleport
Oh, yes.
currency, that was
In
there too.
1.0, you didn't pay gil to fast travel.
No.
You had to use a, you guessed it, rechargeable currency. And you're thinking to yourself, well, it can't be that bad. Girl,
How is it not bad? It's
you could
horrible.
only carry a maximum of 100 anima at any given time.
You mean you have to
Teleporting
separately
within
farm
your current
everything.
region cost 4 anima, while teleporting to another region cost about 6 anima. Fair enough, you think, but how fast does the anima recharge? Well, hold on tight. You'd get 1 anima every 4 hours.
What?
I can't even comment on that.
So that takes like almost a whole day then if you want to go to a different
Well, Lukiel, you say, why didn't you just use your chocobo to get around?
Takes more than a whole day
Yes,
even.
sure, there were chocobos around. You could see them in every city-state, and sure, they had saddles and the whole setup there, but hey, who needs to actually ride them, right? Right? Yeah, that's right. In Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, you couldn't ride chocobos.
You couldn't?
They were just unfinished decorations in the city-states.
Okay,
no
they
actual
rushed the release
functionality
back then, that's
whatsoever.
probably why.
So that meant you had to actually walk through the Black Shroud.
The Labyrinth.
on
The
foot,
Labyrinth aka Black Shroud of
physically
1.0.
moving from this point to this point on foot.
How often did players get lost?
Why? Well, okay. Let's take a few steps back and look at one of the assets that was sure to be one of the redeeming qualities of this game. The trademark all Final Fantasies pride themselves with. The main story. Well, the opening cinematics for the initial city-states sure seemed to tease one hell of an interesting main story plot. But the air is quickly kicked out of it after the first initial quest.
Why?
What seems like a great engaging story with lots of interesting and intriguing plot devices is soon replaced with dull and empty quests involving shallow NPCs you never see again, and fetch quests with little to no relevance to the plot.
So those were
Yes,
shit quests.
I am aware that the latter was pretty normal at the time, but the reason why these fetch quests were especially infuriating was that the main story was spread so thin, you could go as long as 10 levels before actually unlocking a main story quest. And then hey, fetch quest with no actual relevance. And you're thinking, 10 levels? Pfft, get good, scrub. You've clearly forgotten about the 8 leave quests every 36 hours, the lack of mobs in the overworld, and the fatigue system. All in all, the main story arc was overall flat and not very interesting. Sure, there were some instances where the main story was intriguing, but all in all, it felt rushed and thin. To 1.0's credit though, the first part of the main story is actually split into 3 different versions, depending on what city-state you choose to.
Okay, that is interesting though, with the 3 different stories. But yeah, they really, I've never done this quest or seen this quest at early game, like they really even reworked all the quests and stuff. Yo, this was way more work than I expected for A Realm Reborn. I thought like, it was just like they changed, okay, the map, the landscape a bit. They changed, of course, the graphics and made them way better. And I thought like, of course, like the combat was changed with a new engine. But I didn't know that they actually rechanged so much of the quests and stuff as well. Wow, this must have been really sleepless nights for the devs.
Depending on what city-state you choose to start in. So to sum up the main storyline for 1.0,
Wow.
I'm going to use Limsa Lominsa's storyline as our starting point, and I'll explain it in broad strokes until it merges with the unified main storyline. I'm
Wow.
actually considering making a 1.0 story summary video in the future. Let me know in the comments if you're interested. For now, I'll just go through the key plot points in the 1.0
Imagine-
storyline. Okay, here we go. You, the adventurer, wakes up in a ship, hearing a soft singing voice. Yet despite clearly hearing someone, you cannot see anyone fitting that voice around you.
Okay.
The voice calls out the ever-famous words hear, feel, think.
Hear,
You
feel,
start exploring
think.
the ship, and eventually you walk out on deck. And hey, foreshadowing Meteor Shower.
That does look
Then
cool
the
though.
ship gets attacked by jellyfish. You meet your
Jellyfish.
and Stallman, and together you fight the jellyfish. But hey, sea serpent! You finally arrive in Limsa Lominsa, and everything is great. Some stupid Lalafell in the Fisherman's Guild asks you to escort another stupid Lalafell to Ocean's Torch.
Oh,
But
okay.
when you know it, there are dead bodies everywhere.
Oh,
And two shady blokes standing
that's
around.
my kind of start I
Apparently
enjoy.
one of the guys wants to make an agreement with the Sahagins, but then they spot you and they leave. You head back into town, and it becomes clear that the Sahagin have been attacking a lot lately, especially around Ocean's Torch, so it sure was nice of that Lalafell to send a new adventurer to that very
That
dangerous
face
place
expression,
with another
so
helpless
adorable.
Lalafell, huh?
Two different eyes.
Anyway, you meet Badron and he starts telling you about a place called Seal Rock, a mysterious island that is
I really like Badron. I think he's probably my most favorite starting like Adventurers Guild dude. Like, I really like his dialogues. I have sometimes difficulties understanding what he's saying because he's using some sort of pirate slang or something. But when I do understand, I think what he says is really cool.
Starts telling you about a place called Seal Rock, a mysterious island that is famous amongst the Lominsons for hiding away some massive treasure. Anyway, you meet up with Y'shtola again, and she tells you she's looking for a shadowless man that apparently stands accused for murdering Sahagins and basically being the reason why the Sahagin are so enraged. Badron tells us that the Lalafell we escorted earlier, Sisyphu, wants to talk to you. Sisyphu, being a fisher himself, reveals a very secret fishing hole and asks to meet there. When you finally meet up there, hey, wouldn't you know it, Stallman, the first squadron commodore you met on deck in the beginning cutscene, is here. Stallman tells us who he thinks is the perpetrator behind the Sahagin killings, a guy called Emmerich. This Sahagin drama continues for a while, and there's some fighting, lots of deaths, and pretty cool all-female pirate crew that shows up.
Ooh.
There's also a brief moment in the story where we get a good look at the musketeer class that we would sadly never get.
Oh.
Also, just an important sidetrack here.
Wait a moment. There was a musketeer class? So, wait, this was got changed into the machinist, right? I think. Musketeer class, because they're not so developed like the machinist. So the machinist is the, let's say, upgraded version of the musketeer.
There's also a brief moment in the story where we get a good look at the musketeer class that we would sadly never get. Also, just an important sidetrack here. Take a look at this weapon.
What's this?
This is the 1.0 Arcanist main hand. The 1.0 Arcanist or Arcanists we're supposed to wield a staff and not a book.
There's not a staff that looks like an X or something.
Well, back to the story. At one point, you
head looks like a Marauder
to find Y'shtola engaged in a battle with Stallman. Stallman has found the supposed key to Seal Rock, but does not know how to use it. He wants Y'shtola to tell him, but she refuses, and battle ensues. You are suddenly blinded by a bright light, and you find yourself alone. Well,
oh no!
Until you start looking around, and you finally witness Stallman and two other lady dudes. Lady dudes? I just said lady dudes. Anyway.
Maybe they're both.
Anyway, you finally witness Stallman and two other shady dudes in a rushed conversation about planning to claim the treasures of Seal Rock for their own gain. How dare they?
He looks like a true pirate captain.
It's Emmerich talking to Stallman. Y'shtola appears before you and explains that you both possess the ability to view the happenings of the past, the Echo. And again, we're served with some great unintentional foreshadowing.
Wait, Y'shtola no longer has that in Realm Reborn, I think. Oh no. What's happening? A storm is coming. Whoa. Holy shit. And now demons are spawning or something, let me guess.
A meteor shower suddenly erupts from the skies, raining light down upon you and the others. Shortly after, the Shadowless Man appears and steals the key from Stallman. Y'shtola tries to stop him, but he disappears. Shit happens, you wake up in Limsa Lominsa again, and hey, Badron is there. You remember Y'shtola mentioning the Echo. Discussing this with Badron, he tells you that a man called Blackburn left a message telling you to visit the Path of the 12, located in the
That's also an interesting plot. I actually think it's not that bad.
This is where the main story merges with the other city-state storylines and becomes one unified story.
But it's a bit short.
The main story quest started at level 1, but was spread out over 4 level caps. Level 1, level 10, level 15, and then finally level 20. Some of the gaping issues with the game was already known to the devs before launch, but Square Enix's view on this was that the game could be patched after launch and had insisted on a quick release and, arguably, earning a quick buck in the process. No big deal. It's
rushed but not good.
We'll be fine. But then came the reviews, and it finally dawned on everyone that this game would not be ushering in the new golden era of Final Fantasy.
Critics lash out at shoddy
Negative,
Final
scoring
Fantasy
14 at
XIV.
50% on game rankings and
Wow,
49
that's
out
so
of 100 on
low.
Metacritic. UK Video Game Magazine.
You want to be
German
around
video game
80 or
said,
higher.
Eorzea is a beautiful world with huge potential for vast adventures, but it's just a shame that this first voyage into it is such a misstep. IGN stated that much of the promise with the combat system and depth of the crafting mechanics are drowned, unfortunately, under a sea of interface and performance issues that hinder the experience at nearly every step.
Wow.
Further stating that while patches might improve the experience, its state at the time of the review made it not a world worth visiting.
Not a word
GameSpot,
worth
in
visiting.
addition to warning players away from the game, said that Final Fantasy XIV is a notable entry to the genre, but only for what it lacks. One of the most devastating reviews, however, came from PC Gamer, calling the game a shallow, slow,
Even
grind-heavy
30, that's
MMO
even less than the
crippled
50.
by a horrible interface
Shit.
and nonsensical limitations. Critics agreed that the game's graphics were good, and the game's score by Nobuo Uematsu was enjoyable and great. But that was as much praise as the game.
Yeah, but that's just the story, the graphics and all that. Like, this is really nice if you have this sort of concept about a game and the concept is sort of like complete or very deep, right? And a good concept. But if the practical path, I'm just calling it the practical path, is not so good because you have like a lot of technical issues or lag and other functions are missing, like the freaking search options when it comes to the market, right? Like you can't even search for items and stuff. Like, of course, people are going to be upset and give a bad feedback. And if you're like entering a zone where like a few players are standing around or suddenly starts lagging, and it's just annoying because you have to walk from A to B, and if you're walking like this, like robotic almost, because you're lagging constantly and combat feels slow, of course, like people are going to dislike the game.
Great. But that was as much praise as the game would get. Criticism was laid against the game's gameplay pace, its convoluted interface, bugs and glitches, and the incredibly slow pace of the main story. The leave system was criticized for being too restrictive, and the fatigue system was confusing and unnecessary.
It's really unnecessary.
It was generally seen as a great disappointment, both as an MMORPG
and look at the artwork, such a good one, right?
Series. Final Fantasy XIV is now in serious trouble. The release of the game sparked immediate player backlash in addition to its negative critical reception, throwing Square Enix into damage control. The initial 30-day free trial was extended twice, while the game received heavy patches to rectify the worst bugs and glitches. But the ship was sinking, fast. Player numbers were declining at a
should have done a Realm Reborn earlier, it seems.
Kept coming in. The dev team is overwhelmed. With one problem solved, another one shows up.
What kind of glitch is that?
Servers are unable to keep up, and players already struggling with frame rate.
I actually experienced something similar in Skyrim, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was once in Skyrim and I ended up somewhere, and for some reason I could see through mountains and just see the freaking trees, or something was not loaded in. I made this kind of experience in Skyrim. Oh wow.
Face massive lag as well. And we're talking game-breaking lag, as in.
But look at the combat. Oh, is this slow?
This would probably not surprise you
almost
if you knew that the
turn-based.
game was designed in such a way that every interaction was registered server-side and not client-side. That's right, even your menu. So, if the servers started lagging, well, you'd have to wait for your menu to load.
Oh no.
You even have
Everything
time to
loads
do that
separately.
with the server crashes. Mid-October 2010. The servers would now constantly crash and maintenance would often take hours to complete. November 2010. Tanaka appears in interviews apologizing for the state of the game. Whatever happened behind the scenes in Square Enix HQ is difficult to know, as Square was usually extremely tight-lipped about its business practices at the time. The game was in a surreal limbo, where no one really knew what was going on. Just to add to the absurdity, on the lodestone, it was business as usual, with patch notes and messages from the devs about trivial things, like crafting and gathering tips.
Gathering tips, crafting.
Then, in December of
Yeah, we like that too.
2010, Square Enix announced that the PS3 version was to be indefinitely delayed from its original March 2011 release date. with Square
Oh,
Enix
no.
saying that it would not release the game for that platform until it fully met the quality.
But that's also not good, because people are waiting for something. It always says delay, 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 delay. Like, yeah, I mean, a lot of players understand that if it happens like once or twice. But imagine you get 3 delays on a game that you really want to play, and you hear, okay, it's delayed by a month, and then they say a second time, okay, by another month, and yeah, maybe it's just, but once they say, oh, it's delayed by another month or something, then people are going to get mad a bit. Like, I would rather say make a delay announced for a later time and then just release a bit early or something. Like, let's say someone says, oh, the game is delayed by 3 months, but it actually takes only 2 months. Then it's better you say it's delayed by 3 months, and then after a month or 2 months you say, oh, we're gonna be finished a bit earlier. I think it's better to announce something later and release it earlier, or spontaneously say, hey, it's coming out a bit earlier, than if you constantly delay something.
Quality standard suitable for the Final Fantasy series. Oh yeah, I barely mentioned that. They planned for this game, to be on the PS3. Seriously. Following this announcement, subscriptions for the Windows version were also suspended indefinitely. Finally, Tanaka speaks up. He takes full responsibility for the disaster's launch, and shortly after, Square Enix announced that Tanaka and Komoto had both been removed from their positions as producer and director, respectively. Square Enix is quick to find a new dev team leader. One man would now fill the shoes of the 2 men before him.
Yoshi P.
A man that had little to no experience with Final Fantasy titles in the past was put in charge of Square Enix's latest Final Fantasy
That's so
title
interesting.
to save it from impending doom. Naoki Yoshida,
the savior.
is about to be forever changed.
Oh.
Hey, we're gonna have to save that for episode 4. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the series in general.
Blackshot
If you did,
1.0.
please leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're
Naoki
new around
Yoshida
here.
saved
And
it.
as usual, leave a comment telling me what you think of this video and your favorite or worst 1.0 memory.
Oh wow, that's interesting to see how the game used to be. Like, that's crazy. And yeah, now we're getting to the cool part. I'm really excited about episode 4, because now we're getting to the beginnings of Realm Reborn. And how did Speakers Network gather all those clips and informations? Like, wow, like Speakers Network, he did such a nice job with all the information and how much like footage there also is and stuff. Wow. But yeah, that's good that they actually reworked the game and they did a Realm Reborn. I actually hope something similar will happen to World of Warcraft, because like, I'm still playing sometimes a bit World of Warcraft, but recently I feel definitely different about the game, and this also needs a freaking Realm Reborn for WoW. Like, seriously, but that's crazy to see that you couldn't even find items on the market by other players. You had to talk to the retainers one by one. OMG. The Anima traveling system, like, this sucks. Like, you don't want to have a separate currency for everything because you don't know what to focus on farming. Like, imagine you have to do fates for Anima, but you have to do leaves for a certain other, like maybe for Gil, and you have to do dungeons for another currency. You have to do this for another currency. Like, it's okay if you have like one thing for one thing and one thing for one thing, but if you have like 3 or 4 different kind of, let's say, currencies that you have to farm separately, like, it gets annoying, right? Like, you have coin for the market, let's say. You have coin for regular items. You have coin for traveling. And you have coin for, I don't know, maybe glamour. Like, that would be so annoying, because then suddenly you have to farm 4 different things, right? But yeah, it's interesting, the story of Final Fantasy XIV. This was definitely a really, really fun documentary to watch. And I still can't believe this also, like how Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was and how bad. Like, I was told by you guys that it was really, really bad and the whole game was remade, and that's the game we are playing now. But that it was this bad, I just see now, and it's crazy. Like, I'm under shock. Like, seriously. But yeah, this was a really good video. And yeah, if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget, hit that subscribe button for more content. And I'll also really appreciate if you like this video. This will help out with the YouTube algorithms. And stay all safe and healthy. And I will see you guys next time.